it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Soldier from 1998. This is directed by Paul Anderson, who you guys may know from Event Horizon as well as several other cool sci-fi movies, and stars Kurt Russell, who you know from a ton of stuff. But anyway, this movie is a sci-fi movie with a good chunk of action, although action is primarily in the third act. That being said, you know, Kurt Russell, Paul Anderson, I was surprised that I hadn't heard of this movie before. But yeah, I heard of it quite recently. I was watching YouTube and someone made a video on it, and the thing that sold me, the thing that they pointed out in their video, is this is actually a secret spin-off movie to Blade Runner. Now, it doesn't like oversect really big. There's no, you know, Blade Runners running around or anything. But this movie is written by David Webb Peoples, who was one of the co-writers for Blade Runner, and he stated that this movie was intended to be a side sequel, a movie that took place in the same universe but off to the side and didn't really relate to the main thing. Now, you get characters in this movie that are synthetically grown humans. They don't ever call them replicants, but you know that's what they are. But the biggest and most direct tie-in is Kurt Russell. They show a file on him and you get to see all these little battles that he was in. And two of those battles were actually things that Batty referenced in his Tears in the Rain speech. So we know for sure this is the same universe, but don't expect major crossover action. But it is still really cool to see multiple movies set in the same sci-fi realm. And that's really nice, and that's what got me interested in it. So that being said, let's just go ahead and dive right into the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what this movie's about, and I want to say my piece on a few plot points. So let's go ahead and dive right into the plot. We open up in the year 1996, so 2 years before this movie came out, and we see a baby version of Kurt Russell's character get drafted at birth. 1996, a really tough year. He's grown up and he's trained from birth to be a soldier, so this is his whole life and all he knows, and you really get to see how tough the training is on him. You get to see him go through various physical and mental tasks, but you also get to see just what they're putting into his head. He's doing a target training exercise, and one of the targets, there's a woman with a baby who's clearly an innocent, and then behind her, a evil bad guy target pops up using her as a shield, and Kurt Russell, because of his training, just plows through both of them with bullets just indiscriminately. Yeah, lady, I don't really want to kill you, but, you know, the guy's behind you and I have to kill him, so who cares about you? A really cold and dark future. You also see a bunch of the kids running, and one of the kids is lagging behind, and a Jeep pulls up and they shoot him because, hey, that kid, he's not as good. But you do get to see in this montage that Kurt Russell is the best out of all these soldiers. He's the number one soldier there. And you get to see a montage later of him in all his battles, proving that he's the big soldier. Now, one day, he's there with his fellow soldiers, and his commanding officer, who's actually played by Gary Busey, who is always great to see Gary Busey, one of those people that can give a really good, powerful performance. And Gary Busey's met by this government guy, and the government guy says, your soldiers are old, they're out of date, we're replacing them with synthetically grown humans, i.e. replicants, even though they don't ever call them that. And the replicants, he says they're, you know, better and stronger and they think quicker, and they put Kurt Russell up against these one of these replicants in several tests, and you see he's faster and stronger. In the last test, they have the two climb the chain up to the ceiling, you know, kind of like those ropes in old-timey gym class, and Kurt Russell gets a head start, but the replicant quickly catches up to him on the chains, and the two commanding officers down at the bottom said, well, how about we have them fight? And the guy who's the government guy who came in with all the replicants says, it's not fair enough, send two more guys. So 3 humans to this one replicant are at the top on the chains, and they start fighting, and Kurt Russell almost gets him. He claws at one of his eyes, but sadly, the replicant defeats all 3 of these soldiers, including Kurt Russell, who's supposed to be the biggest and best. Now, they take all these dead bodies. They don't want to, let the general public know they're killing their soldiers just for test. So they put them on this big garbage truck and dump them all on this trash planet. But of course, Kurt Russell's not really dead. He wakes up and he meets the inhabitants of this trash planet. These people are stranded there. They don't want to be. And whenever a trash ship comes, they at first were signaling and trying to get their attention, but none of the trash ships ever came down to help them, which leads to 2 conclusions. Either they're automated or they just don't care, which is pretty dark. Hey, there are people on our trash planet. Yeah, whatever. Now, the thing is, he's stuck there and he knows he's been replaced. He really has nowhere to go, so they take him in to live with him. And then you see one of the big themes of this movie is Kurt Russell. He is no longer needed as a soldier, but he doesn't know how to act during a time of peace. So he's sort of double failing there. He can't be a soldier and he can't be a man at peace, and this is really stressing him. And here you get to see Kurt Russell's character. Now, Kurt Russell's character is pretty interesting. You have a guy like Kurt Russell, he can do some crazy, over-the-top performances. You've seen him in Big Trouble in Little China. You've seen him in Captain Ron. But here he's basically behaving like a Terminator. Really straight face, and people will talk to him and he'll just stare. And it takes a lot to get a word out of this guy. But you see, it's more complicated than just, oh, I'm sitting here, I'm tough. You see one scene, a very impactful scene. The inhabitants of the trash planet are celebrating Christmas, and all the motion and the dancing, he's never seen anything happy like this, so he can only relate this to battle. And he knows it's not really a battle, it's dancing, but all the motion is really triggering to him, and he walks away and he watches it from afar, and you can really see there, like, oh, this guy is seriously messed up. And that is a really, really interesting character. Now, for this whole middle arc here, there's not really super much action. Every now and then something little might happen. But this is, I can really respect it. The movie is like, hey, we're not going to do action just for action's sake. We're here to learn about Kurt Russell's character and to kind of do this fish out of water story for a little while, where Kurt Russell just doesn't know how to relax and how to live amongst normal people. And you really get lots of cool character building moments at the expense of the action, sure, but I really did appreciate this fish out of water story. But of course, you know that all the action is going to come back. He's eventually going to meet his fellow soldiers again, and he's eventually going to meet the army of replicants, and it's going to turn into a really cool defend the base style story for the last act. One Kurt Russell versus a whole squad of replicants, and that's pretty cool. It's, they're bigger and stronger, but he has home turf advantage. He has the element of surprise. He knows the ins and outs of this place, and he also knows exactly what they're going to think and do, because he used to be a soldier just like them, and that is really, really cool. Now, this movie is really good and a lot better than I expected, and it's not perfect by any means, but it's as good as a lot of movies that people consider to be modern sci-fi classics, which really begs the question as to why I hadn't heard of this before. It may be because this was 1998 and this really does feel like an 80s movie. Maybe people just wanted crazy modern movies at the time. But also, it may be because it does stop so long for character that action fans are like, there's no action in the middle of it. I don't know, but that being said, I really did like this, and I really was surprised. You get to see Kurt Russell building a relationship with his family, figuring out how to be human, and not, just a standard, arc like that. He really, by the end of this movie, he understands it a little bit, but they don't go through all the cliched versions, and you get to see him in his relationship with this one family that's housing him, the the dad of that family is actually the guy who plays Alfred in Gotham, as well as the guy who was in Dog Soldiers. And you know, you get to see him building the relationship with this guy, his wife, and his kid, and learning to protect something that he wasn't ordered to. And it is a really good movie, and I don't really know how it slipped through the cracks, but I definitely recommend seeing it. Just know that Act 2 is going to be less action and more character, but enjoy a good fish out of water story. That being said, I definitely recommend it, and it's sad that this movie slipped through the cracks. And hey, takes place in the world of Blade Runner. That's pretty cool. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist down at the bottom if you want to see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom.